right, welcome to day 40 of raising funds for world domination. So we'll continue on with the standard intro. So the only update from the last couple of days was there was interim order issued from the LTB. They dismissed some of the N13s, not mine, and my hearing is formally adjourned for there's going to be one more hearing sometime in the future, not scheduled yet. So here's the latest version of the block mining simulation game. So I pushed some of the fixes that at least make it not crash. They're not super elegant, but let me fix the mic here. Hareth Ryan says hello again. How's it going? Nero says hi. All right. So I don't really want to I want to kind of wrap up the development on this. I think in the last 40 days or so I've been quite productive. So I've actually gotten a lot of really significant features added. Now there's been some regressions in terms of performance, so I'm going to think about, I also want to fix, I was thinking about, there's a whole bunch of issues with drawing to the screen. It's having multiple threads writing to the same screen at once is there's challenges to doing that. So I'll let's see. So I'm thinking one core issue is every time the frame resizes, some frames are slower at doing writes. So I think I'm going to have like an ID where I keep track of how many times the frame has resized, and then if the console writer thread gets if it gets a message to print to the screen that from an outdated size, then that'll be discarded. Dark Project says, Robert, love you guy. Thank you for the kind words. if I wasn't a divorcing broke loser, I would send you a big buck. Well, that's all right. If you're going through a divorce, that's a whole other level of situation that I've been fortunate enough to not have to deal with that situation yet. Today I built a wall. Did you make someone else pay for it? I guess it's not just it's not just when the width of the terminal changes. It's also going to be when frames change size, if you're resizing one. I have to think about it. So you paid for the wall yourself? I guess if it's your own wall, then that makes sense. It's my fault for forming interpersonal relationships, not seeking the absolute sanctity, security, and safety of the command line. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's hard to get everything that you want in life. The command line is a pretty secure place, especially if you run SE Linux. You can create security policies to keep all the bad people out. I'm now doubting my original approach that I thought of. I guess I can have I guess I can have one of these IDs for the terminal, but then also for kind of put one for tracking how many times the terminal's changed size, but also each frame can remember how many times it's, like, the ID number of its most recent resize. If you popped up in my feed, that means you're doing something good. Keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for the kind words. It's crazy. There's now an official Robert Elder Discord server in addition to the unofficial one. I don't know if it's that crazy. Technically, I started it a long time ago, but I just signed up to Discord for to message someone, but then I never really used it. Hey bro, tossing you my second like. Ready for Domination Day. Excellent. So I got another person on board. Oh, nice. We got a super chat tonight. Thank you to Bradley for the $2. 200 pennies have now fallen out of your PC. Thank you very much. Why world domination? Why world domination? Bro, why not? That question was from Rawat in all capital letters. What are you coding now? Right now I'm going to try and implement a feature that should hopefully fix some of the race conditions with when multiple threads are printing to the screen at once, so that it'll stop having rendering errors. That's it. Moving to Axel Heiberg. What programming language is this? This is Java. But only if there are calzones there. That'll have to be one of the first stores. The first small food shop. And we'll have an immigration pathway for very nice old ladies. And so we can have a calzone shop staffed by really nice old ladies. Galactic Past says, "Hello, Robert. How's it going?" Just stumbled upon this. What's going on? Currently, I'm doing some development work on a terminal-based video game where you wander around an infinite procedurally generated universe and spam the M key to mine blocks in an underground mine. And currently, I'm working on changes to the user interface to make it to fix some issues with not rendering properly. Show us the game. Once I get it to compile, then I'll. I'm about to. Once I do this include, I think I'll probably be able to compile it. So it'll, just hang on for a second. Let's see, I don't know. Damn, I forgot about that. I'm gonna have to pass in a parameter for this. For that, okay, let's see. This will take more than 30 seconds. forget what this function is called. What is world domination? Oh, that's where you take over the world. Then you get to impose your own laws and rules. World domination is like investing in U.S. national debt, becoming overseer of all. Yeah, that'll be one of the long-term goals. Just buy all the U.S. debt, and then when they default on it, just be like, oh, I own the United States of America now. You have to do what I say. I spelled that function wrong everywhere. C-H-A-N-G. Mr. Realtor, my cheap keyboard eats batteries real bad, and I'm on my last battery. So we're moving. May have to suffer using my MacBook Pro as an actual laptop. Any suggestions? Keyboard. It's a wireless keyboard. I would say get a wired one. It's more reliable. And it's no batteries required. Better latency. If your keyboard takes 3 batteries, then just hotwire a USB card to it. Or you could use a car battery and then just get a voltage regulator and then solder that on. One battery at a time. Variable voltage line power supply has already been moved. Five volts might burn out a component. I guess you could use something that's lying around and try to, if you have a multimeter, you could rather figure out the resistance of it, and then just create like a voltage divider to try and just burn off the extra couple volts. But then you're wasting power and you're creating heat. But it could work if you're in a pinch. Car battery, it'll work. You'd have to burn off the extra 9 volts though. Might create a lot of heat. I could do a treadmill, modify to a generator. Are you self-taught? No, I went to university back in the day. How often do you use LLMs while writing code? I use them daily now. I have never used an LLM for anything that I've actually like written and used. I have like tried out a couple of those large language model things a few times, and I think they are like the way. There's a lot of classes where, especially if I'm building something that's similar to something else, where I have just done some one-off things. I've asked an LLM, like, make me a class that's like this, but it does this other. It's just like this, but it does these things and accepts, and it'll do something that's quite similar. But I just have not gotten around to actually integrating anything into my editor. Like I've just done that as a sample on GitHub, and I just have not had enough time to screw around with like finding an editor or a context or anything. I think yeah, and if I use one of these models, I want to research it well. I don't really like, apparently there's a lot of malware spreading around from these like AI code assistant plugins, but they're just like poorly written plugins. I'm new to programming. I've been using AIs to learn. Some actual engineers at work. Thoughts? I think it's good to learn. Honestly, where I would say I kind of am already using it is when I Google stuff in the AI summary. Like if I say, like, if I forget to do something like how to find the index of something in Java, I just Google that in the AI summary. It's giving me an example there, and like technically I'm not really using large language models to code anything, but I can see like, oh, okay, that's exactly how I do it. And for simple tasks like that, I think it's definitely good. But like I said, I have not during the day. I'm for the last, I don't know how long, I've been doing other things than programming every day. I want to get back to programming, but just surviving in the world and having a place to live is a full-time job. And my latest thing that's been taking up all my time is taxes. And then on top of that, I need to get some more videos out. I haven't made any actual videos in like over almost a couple of months now. So yeah, I would say the amount of programming I do these days is not as much as it used to be. Have you considered implementing block updates with Kinesis streams? I don't know what that is. Robert, what if I told you that I were a robot the whole time? It could be that case. You never know these days. Streamer Robert Elder is the developer who's building software live. The video titled Raising Funds for World Domination is a playful way of saying, I'm making something big, and I'll take over the world. Thanks to AI. Oh, is that what AI says? Which AI did you ask that? I'm assuming you use the same Unix util for taxes, like GNU Cache. I have like my own thing. I just wrote some like SQL tables and stuff to kind of get my trial balance going. ChatGPT, interesting. What was the prompt that you gave it? It's interesting that it knows of my existence. And creepy. Okay, so someone asked about like what the game looks like. So this is the game. So you wander around this infinite universe, and you spam the M key to mine blocks, which show up in your inventory. Actually, I really like, now that I see it, I like the inventory on the side a lot more than on the bottom. You spam the M key, and you can press the C key to craft, and then you get a pickaxe. And then you can mine out to a larger radius if you have a pickaxe. And that right there is the entire game loop. Dude, I've been trying out VO3 and it's crazy. Generates realistic humans saying and doing whatever you prompt. Synced audio and everything. Yeah, I have seen some of the examples of that recently. That's honestly, what I see so far, I think the like the media that we can create now with AI is even more impressive than the code that we're writing. So a lot of the code still is, it's wonky. I just shared a screenshot of your stream and asked what is world domination. Interesting. I didn't even know ChatGPT could take screenshots as input. How long did it take you to learn taxation and bookkeeping? Sounds like you did it almost completely manually. When I was running a small business, I used Invoice Ninja and FOSS QBL Alternative. I did spend quite a bit of time like trying to build the system I have. I don't know, it's questionable whether I should have went with something else, because I really like having like something that's not cloud-based, that it's not just about like not having to pay, but it's about the fact that every year I go back, it's exactly the way I left it, as opposed to some stupid cloud-based garbage where like every single year now it's like things have changed, except these new terms of service agreements. We're doing this thing, so like, and just like if you learn how to use it, then they pull the rug on you. It's going to be annoying. And then I also have I also want to be able to do stuff like if I track sales, like if I ever end up getting like a lot of individual sales or something, I want the extensibility to just easily put that in a SQL table, but then also connect that with the accounting. But I would say it's in terms of how long did it take? I mean, you could kind of just do, the bookkeeping itself is not that complicated, but you just have to, I did have to learn a bit about like how accounting works, which I think is like how to balance the, how to make a connection between like retained earnings, assets, and income statement, and how to like make sure your records balance. Please pay us hundreds of dollars so we can figure out how to pay thousands to the government. Yeah. I mean, the price of like, even though I do, like right now, I'm just going through and like making the trial balance. So like, what I'm doing is just like collecting all my receipts and documents and stuff, and then adding everything up so that I can get my trial balance. That says like, here's the top line revenue, here's the income, here's approximately the net profit, and then I give that to the accountant, and I pay them $2,000 to actually file the form, and they look it over, and like they'll usually do a few adjustments and stuff. Like they help me out with if I have to issue a dividend or something. I don't know exactly how to do that. But it was I was paying $2,000 back in 2014 with like another accountant. It was like one of the big 4 accounting firms, and their service was not good. I couldn't even get them to respond to emails. And one day there was a tech support charge on my invoice for like $300 or something, and I'm like, what is this? And they just wouldn't respond to me. And almost every single time I've ever emailed an accountant, they always say they're out of office. And so then I found another local accountant, and they were like $750. And then I think that accountant, I was with him for 2 years or something, and then he had a heart attack, and then some other guy in the firm replaced him, and then they got acquired, and then the guy who replaced him left. And so now it's on to some other person. I think this will be the first year with the so this will be what my fourth, fifth accountant. So yeah, there's the game. Are you a secret accountant? You have to tell us. Not really. I learned a bit about how to do accounting and like some of the decent, some of the ways of like the basic things you have to follow about dividends and shares and. IAN is decent, as it can be just run in Ubuntu. It is payments portal, and is connected to a DB. The word invoice is being blocked. Interesting. That's funny. There must be someone spamming. Man, the AI, the censorship that we have is like the future of censorship is crazier than you would think. The fact that people like regular chatters are censored for like just normal words. Like how many times do people say something that is like kind of controversial? Like they're like, oh man, I hope we don't get censored for this, and then they get censored for it, but it's because they had the word invoice in it, not because of some other, heinous thing that they said. Moderation is odd. My posts were deleted. Huh. Yeah, I decided it makes sense. Like I do need some moderation, and I decided to be interesting, just to be lazy and leave the chat moderation on, so I can. And I assume people will complain when they get censored. Maybe a timeout as well. And I'm a member. Oh yeah, that's another thing. We can only tell you because we have chat and stream. Okay, that does what I want. I just realized that I'm probably going to need to pass this down into that function. I'm forced to grovel with elite speak. That's the future. We're all going to have to invent new languages to evade the AI censorship apocalypse, and then the AI is going to figure out what our new language means. But then we're going to have to have even more loose references, and then the AI will have to get like more and more paranoid about things that people are saying, and then it'll be this like feedback loop. Thanks for posting that short vid with the music artist Aleph. Got me into some other artists like Rivian Consoles and Vatican Shadow. Interesting. I'm actually not familiar with those other artists, but I forget how to pronounce that. The artist Geschlafen or something like that. He has a few other good songs that I thought would make for good shorts, but that video was a lot of work to make, and it hasn't gotten 1 billion views yet, so. We are in the Navajo. I bet AI doesn't know that language. I'm sure it does. Then we'll all be talking about calzones, baking cookies. Is calzones already a phrase for something else? My actual account got blocked. Why? I don't know. Did I like? Are you not able to post? Like, does it just not show anything you post? Sometimes individual things won't show up. But if you, I guess if you try a few, like we're just talking about being censored, but I don't. Actually, I haven't had to ban anyone recently. Other than that one like group of bots that came in and started spamming stuff. No, but it will make it mean something at some point. It's true. Everything will mean something different than it actually means. I'm worried about AI models being fine-tuned to push particular opinions. It's possible, and I think it's inevitable eventually. Actually, I suspiciously think it's already happening. Yeah. So my question got filtered. Interesting. I guess the chat is really crazy tonight. Everyone's getting censored for innocent behavior. Just how okay used to be the phrase all correct. Interesting. I thought calzone was a Sopranos reference. I'm not familiar with that. Native Americans from the Navajo tribe fought in World War II. Is communications because the documentation of their language was so narrow, the Japanese forces couldn't listen who even try to decipher them. Yeah, I've heard variations on that topic a number of times. See, Amazon's $5. Gronk is a bunch of gas turbines being illegally run in Memphis. The feds should turn it off. All right, I'll let them know. Not censored if you pay. Was that censored when you manually sent it? Gronk is apparently woke. Don't want to involve politics here. I agree with your opinions, however. Yeah, from the early presidential election. Yeah, I actually have a theory that about like they would say, you could say that certain models are have a political bias. I actually think there might be like a mathematical argument around like certain that, like, if you just say I think you can make statements about like the amount of mathematical entropy in certain political ideologies. So some political ideologies are just more complicated. Like if you believe in, free market capitalism with like bond markets and all that kind of stuff, and there's like lots of theory and there's a lot of information in it. So I wouldn't be surprised if you find out there's like an intrinsic mathematical property to, it's easier to train a model to have a simpler political ideology than it is to have a complex one. And maybe that explains some of the model differences. It's like in the general, reality is complicated, so all models might favor certain simpler versions of the world. Can feel it in my calzones. So my question is, do you think that it is a good idea to do ASP.NET API core on Linux? A good idea. It depends. If I know, I actually worked on a project. Was it ASP.NET? It was some kind of Microsoft technology that I was kind of surprised that there was it was like an ASN1 parser, I think it was, and I was kind of surprised that the build process of it involved a bunch of Microsoft tools that was running on Linux. So there's, I think Windows only is becoming a thing of the past. They're opening up a bit more to be Linux friendly. I do think Linux development is going to get. I think Microsoft has given up on the operating system market, and now they're just on the service market. Now, having said that, you asked if it's a good idea to do ASP.NET API. I don't really know. I don't really know exactly what you mean by that. Like for a project, for a one-off project, or for a job, or for yeah, because it depends on the context. Just read about that today. Elon says he wants to win. Is it really a bunch of gas turbines being illegally run in Memphis? Yes, it was censored. Nice. Maybe it's probably the word feds. That's amazing. What an amazing future that we live in, where we have gas-powered turbine engines that are illegally being used to write an AI, and then a different AI censors this fact, censors the dissemination of the information about AIs being run using this method. Old Kinderhook. Okay, an early candidate. phrase okay comes from the slang surrounding this candidate. Okay, I didn't really realize there was that much lore about okay. Absolutely 35 gas turbines making 420 megawatts, of course, which could power 300,000 or more homes. Wow, that's a lot. So it takes 300,000 homes to power Grok. I noticed people have since you can add tweet at Grok, like everyone's just constantly like, Grok, is this true? Grok, explain this for me. And it's just like it's a random picture of something, a picture of a flower, and they're like, Grok, tell me the history of this flower. Tell me, like, where's this blade of grass located? Okay, that works. So the next thing to do is going to be to send this back. That's like the Pickering nuclear power plant. Not familiar with the background on that. Y'all think we'll see AGI in our lifetime? I don't know. I'm the large language model stuff. Like once you get to that, billion-dollar scale, it just becomes difficult to reason about. Like for pretty much every model before this, you could just have like knowledge about the algorithm. A person could reason about it based on that. Like if you ask, say, like, can you make AGI with a back propagation neural network on a conventional laptop computer? And the answer to that is no. Anyone who's coded one knows it's too slow. It's not powerful enough. The question is like, what's the input data? But with large language models, especially the ones that are trained on like the entire internet for like hundreds of millions of dollars, those ones are the results are just, they produce things that are so unpredictable. And it also like, even if you ask an AI expert for this question, like what kind of things can it output, any individual person does not even know what the model is trained on. Because who has read Wikipedia? Nobody knows. There's no one out there who's read literally every article on Wikipedia, every news article, everything that's out there. I think if we don't see AGI, it's probably going to now. Like I think the algorithmic model of large language models is probably capable intrinsically of general AI. But if we don't see it, it's because probably the data does not exist. Because like, if you think of it, if you just trained a model on like, Shakespearean novels, it probably wouldn't create, general AI. Because if that's the only part of the universe it knows about is, several things written, several Shakespearean plays. But once you start adding more data set like chemistry and stuff, or like, experimental results from like super advanced particle collisions in a nuclear reactor somewhere that's, it's not really, eventually you can start putting the pieces together. Big ol' maybe on that one is where I'm at. Definitely worried about it. But not in the next year, as is continuously promised. I think we're already past the point where, like, anyone who's in this audience here, like, we can talk about it, reason about it and stuff. But when you show like average people, like in the building I live in, there are a number of elderly people that like don't really use computers. There's a guy here who he said one of the things he likes to do is listen to the radio. That's one of his pastimes, is listening to the radio. And he does not have a cell phone, and he's like 80 years old or something like that. Like even explaining to these people the world that we live in is difficult. And people talk about like misinformation and like people getting fooled by fakes and stuff. But I actually think the opposite thing is an even more big problem, because it's very easy to say don't trust anything you see, like don't trust these videos, don't trust this and that. But I think what people started doing is like they don't trust any information. And I find increasingly now, if I talk to someone about stuff that is actually happening, like the government passed this law, or like this thing changed, and it's it's in the news or something, people are like, oh, okay, yeah, and they're skeptical that anything you say is real, because they don't know if you're like reading fake news on Twitter all day or something. I believe we will. I'm also worried about the implications. I agree, and greater than the year, probably closer to 20. Yeah, I think it all depends on the data. Like it's possible. It's possible to get like. I mean, you could. I guess it's actually interesting to think about it the other way. Like, well, what are the chances that AGI is not achieved for another 100 years? And on like, macro timescales, 100 years is not a long time, or like even a generation. Like in 30 years from now, what is the probability we will not have AGI in 30 years from now? That almost seems doubtful. And then once we get to that point, I kind of think a lot of governments are at the point where like they're of the opinion that like citizens are not even able to integrate. The average citizen of a country is not even fully able to integrate information from the world around them. Like super advanced AI and like fake videos and stuff are just no match for the average person now. And there's no amount of education you can tell them to like not get fooled by it. It's just happening so fast. I have an aging copy of Wikipedia. I don't plan to update it because I'm sure it's filling with slop. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. And I thought about it recently. And I think one of the most valuable things in the future is going to be cryptographically secure hashes of data pre-AI slop. Because make sure you have a hash of it and then keep the hashes offline. Because in the future, like where AI is going to poison literally everything that's digital. It's going to get corrupted. TLO says, hello again. How's it going? IMO at the internet as we know it is great because things have been more standardized and easily accessible. Naturally, that is, we've also been too integrated with corporations and their anti-consumer practices. With that in mind, I think the internet needs to be reborn. But what that looks like, I don't know. Yeah, I do think it would be interesting to, I think it'd be interesting just to have like, to reinvent the old like 1990 internet from CERN. Like we just got out all the JavaScript crap and we just like had a separate internet that just went back to the original version. And then we kind of forked it from there. And just keep the markup simple. So the browser, so like a kid can write a browser instead of having like 5 million engineers write like 1 trillion lines of code to like parse JavaScript and like do all these complicated box model calculations and stuff. Like I think the web browser code is like one of the it's basically as complicated as an operating system now. React and all these duck typed frameworks for front end. Yeah, we should remove all of those. Zero JavaScript disabled. Make it so that it should be possible for like a high school kid to write a parser for it. HTTP 1.1, HTML4, CSS2. But with grids, Node.js. Sounds like a dream. Yeah, it is a dream. And I mean, it would be primitive, but the thing is, like, if a 14-year-old kid could write a parser for it, then the amount of development you could do on top of that is significant. Harness child labor for open source. I guess maybe if the projects were simpler, then that would be possible. It's looking better. How are my posts being blocked and that's not? I don't know. It's a good question. It'd be really interesting to know why the AI blocks certain posts. Honestly, it's kind of fascinating how so many like innocuous things can get censored. It's disturbing. Guitar Jams says LOL. And Envy Ajmira says, "Do you remember me?" I'm not sure. Are you one of the people who asked me to remember you, and then I said yes? In that case, then yes, I do. Christopher says, "Sup? Sorry I'm late today." You are forgiven. Can you tell us why you want world domination? I guess mainly like when you look at the news, there's also all kinds of things on the news. It's always bad news all the time. So I figure if I could just take over the world, then I could fix all the problems that we have in society. And then we wouldn't have any more problems. So people wouldn't be so stressed out, and I think it's a good idea. Nice. 0 crashes. Nice. That is one robust block mining simulation game. Now, I think it also does have issues with resizing. Yeah. Still some race conditions with that. Interesting. That shouldn't even have a race condition with that. Why don't we use IP address instead of domain names? It's hard to remember. Yeah, if the DNS servers need something to do. If we use IP addresses, all the DNS servers will get laid off, and then we'll have mass unemployment. So that's why the government created DNS to give employment to the servers. Oh, there's 30 people watching now. Will there be an excess of pastries and snacks once the world is conquered? Do you prefer salt or sweet? It depends. Depends on what mood you're in. I think the best thing is to have a broad assortment of snacks for whatever kind of mood you're in. But yes, this is. I think that's a good idea. We'll have once I get the new country set up, we'll set up an immigration pathway for nice old ladies. It'll be like an express visa, and you have to like demonstrate that you can bake cakes and pastries, and you're gonna have some nice, some nice old lady eccentricities. Now this has an issue still because when I increase width, this thing is not, it doesn't have the right color. So that means there's still an issue. Ever thought about VTubing for your streams? It's all the rage nowadays. I have seen some like stats on like the absolute top live streamers, and they're all VTubing things. They're all these VTubing avatars. And I guess that's just kind of the mathematical optimal point, is to be some cartoon character. I don't know. It's not something that particularly appeals to me. I don't know. In online content creation, you can chase the kind of like, there's like a gradient descent of like how to optimize engagement, where you can become like, increasingly controversial, nonsensical, inappropriate, clickbaity, and then the final stage is like, I think it's an ugly thing, and I have to have some kind of principle that I'm sticking to, independent of just optimizing for engagement. I think being a VTuber is not part of that. What is this? This is a live stream where I do some software development on my terminal-based block mining game. So currently I'm working on fixing some issues with the UI. Please just be yourself. Yeah, I think if everyone chased the highest engagement, everyone would end up basically the same. They would all kind of converge to the same global maximum or minimum. And when you go on the internet, you don't, there's demand for lots of different stuff out there. Like when you Google like how to cure cement, you want a video of a guy explaining how to cure cement, how to make patio stones from cement. You don't want like an animated VTuber doing some like skibbity toilet meme dance. with like clickbait, political incorrect. You just want to know, you know, how do I make patio stones? Now I'm going to need, I think, a second one of these change variables, and that'll be in the user interface. Actually, let's see. No, that has to be in a, it has to be in a split. Or does it? You think I could VTube as that pot leaf without YouTube age restricting? I don't know. Probably would eventually. I guess it probably depends more on what you talked about. I would imagine on a stream as you describe, that would, like, unless you talk about you know, something kid friendly, but then again, this doesn't really sound like a stream for kids. Maybe I'll just leave it there for now. Gaming is a pot leaf. If you talk about that stuff, then eventually the algorithm will probably be like, this is not designed for kids. Yeah, there's some improvements that could be done here. Fix this lag. When writing code, which do you enjoy most? Writing code that is fast, concise, readable, or idiomatic? I would say it mostly what I kind of optimize for is, or what I try to aim for is just like incremental changes that I can focus my understanding, like it's thousands of lines of code, but if I can do incremental small changes that I can fit in my mind and I can understand how they work correctly, even if they're kind of like often I'll refactor stuff in a way that kind of makes it slower or worse for a little while, but in order to simplify the system, just in a small iterative incremental way. And I'll do that to maybe like clean up an interface. So like, I don't know, let's say you're calling a function and the function has 10 billion parameters in it. I might be able to think about like, how do I change this so those parameters could all be in a class or something, and then I'll just do that incrementally. Like right now I'm trying to just do one variable rename, and I'm going to focus on that and get that compiling and running and working before I move on to anything else. I guess the eventual goal is kind kind of whittle it down to a super tight, highly optimized thing that's just, it works. It's very general. I think some of the code I've written that's most proud of, if you Google for Meyer's diff algorithm, for a while I was like first or second result, but I think I've gone down a bit. But if you search for that, there's a little snippet of code of the Meyer's diff algorithm. I found a slightly faster variant of that algorithm. And it's basically like a minified thing, but it's a copy and pastable diff algorithm. You think a website can only function on HTML and CSS? That's how they used to. Anything drug related is just asking for trouble on this platform. Easy way to age restrict all your content. Yeah, I think it's not something I find interesting. And if you're, I think it makes sense to question what's the end goal. Do you want to make money on the platform? And if you do, it probably makes sense to think about something more monetizable. Manish Yadav says, Hi brother. How's it going? Did you try Graal VM? I did not. Wow, it's the viewership is higher tonight. 33 viewers. That works pretty good. When will you try NeoVim? I did. I used it for 5 minutes, and then I don't have much time to try new tools. I'm trying to just. My goal for the next little while is just to. I have so many other things I need to do. I'd like to get this game to like the next milestone so I can release it, and then I maybe will kind of walk back from coding a bit. I guess I'll just wear a mask. I guess whatever you want to do. I found your Myers code. It's exceptional and very impressive. First page result. That's good. Stupid Google used to make me page number 2. Okay, now let's think about frame dimensions, change ID. I guess I also need the frame ID. All right, let's just fix the compile errors. A mask would suit cracking hashes and GTA live streams. I guess. What kind of mask? I guess I have questions about the overall objective. All right, console writer, the red state. Actually, let's do the leaf node first. I'm a private person, but if you're live streaming though, you always risk revealing yourself. I guess the other thing is to question the eventual objectives. So you can, it would be possible to stream like that for a bit, but then the question is, are you doing it for money, or to like try and build a following, build a business out of it, or if it's just a fun thing to play around with. All right. guess it's a little bit of all. Yeah, I guess you could try it out. I think a very common thing I've noticed, that one of the things that surprised me is lots of people who want to do social media stuff, and then they'll put themselves out there a bit, and then they get a bit of criticism, and then they're like, oh, I don't like this, and then they delete everything, and they're like, quit, nope. Someone will make fun of something. So I guess that's one component of it. Eventually, you will have to have thick skin, and there's all kinds of weird stuff. Like randomly, people come into your chat. Like the chat has been pretty cool for a while. Actually, interestingly, it's gotten better over time. But I think starting out, there's just like all kinds of weird people who come into chat and like stuff that it's impossible to explain. And for, I think, the average person to just be like, nope, never doing that again. I'm building an ISP in May. I have to host it on the dark web. Okay, I don't go on the dark web. I have an idea what there's on there, so I stay away from that place. I would say the average person would not even read chat. I think a good chunk of people passively join while doing other things. I mean viewers or the streamers? What's your favorite algorithm other than Myers? Mine is FFT, probably fast Fourier transform. Yeah, I think actually there's Veritasium has a video. I think it's got the title, "The World's Most Important Algorithm," and I was thinking about doing a video on the exact topic with that exact title, because I do think it is probably one of the most important algorithms. I think I have thick skin. I'm not nice when I get trolls, but I'm not one to toss it away. Yeah, that's one consideration. The other is also if you do actually plan to generate revenue from it and stuff, it's I think you have to think about doing social media as a kind of whole of business endeavor. It's taken me quite a while of making videos and stuff like that to get anywhere close to something. Actually, revenue's down substantially because I haven't made any long form videos in a while. Daily streaming, that's been a recent phenomenon, and I'm just doing it to collect data points to see, is this a viable way to bring in income? And so far it's kind of hit and miss. There are some days where there's a decent amount of chat revenue and stuff. And it's not just about chat revenue too. I'm interested to see if I can get reasonable revenue from multiple different people, because if it's just one person donating all the time, then it's it's not really sustainable. What are you doing, body? I'm working on fixing some rendering issues in my terminal block mining game. The dark web isn't like what people say it is. I mean, there's bad stuff on there if you look for it. Some nice looking Java code. Not gonna lie. Oh, thank you. Lots of people make fun of my super long variable names. Let's see, what was I doing? I might need to implement an equals for this. Let's see. I think factor I have got to implement. For some reason, I've seen more horrendous stuff on the clear net than the dark net. Still, I've no interest in visiting. That's what I want. You got a flipper 0? I do not. Those also might be a violation of I don't know, some kind of, was it FTC rule or? I'm not sure if they're, I guess they're really low energy, but there's probably some radio engineering standards they violate. Right, does this compile? I guess in practice, though, you probably wouldn't get in any trouble, because I think they're kind of ubiquitous now. Oh, nice. Another super chat. I found your stream yesterday. I code daily at this time. Enjoy your stream. We join periodically. Do whatever calls you the most. Thank you very much to Riley H. Oh, I missed Putin says hello. How's it going? All right, I need a getter function. got all kinds of shitty tech. Packet squirrels, land turtles, OMG cable, and more fun stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't mind playing around with some of that stuff, but I don't have any time to do anything fun. My life revolves around trying to not get rent evicted and filing taxes and complying with laws. Does that not work? Maybe I need to do this. Of course that doesn't work. Required object found long. Google lied to me. Oh, objects. I never even knew this was a thing. Objects. Ah. Interesting. Static variables should be qualified. Landlords are scum these days. That's true, but also, I would give it both ways. Like, there's tons of predatory landlords and also predatory tenants, and there's tons of like this whole category of. I mean, it almost seems like the system. Oops, sorry about that. It seems like the system now is set up to fail both the tenants and landlords, because there's a whole category of like professional tenants that just like they move in and they don't pay rent, and they just like stay there for forever. All right, I guess I need hash code. Trust me, it's in my book. What is specifically? True, but your situation is scummy. Yeah, this I think this case is a particularly egregious one, and it's annoying too because like the system is so broken that when I talk about this, like to fully convey it, I have to go into details about like N13s and rank control and stuff like that. And of course, people have issues with rank control, and I think rank control is not a good policy either. And I would use my own experience here as one example that rank control doesn't work. So rank control works perfectly when it doesn't need to work, but then the second it needs to work, it doesn't work at all. But by the time you like explain it to people like don't know the difference between someone's just like squatting or something, they're not paying rent, versus someone who's getting evicted on dubious grounds. Hopefully you'll be able to play with Shady Tech once that's over. Yeah, we'll see what happens. The rent eviction, preparing for the last hearing took up a bit of time, but I think I've gotten through most of that. Oh, that makes sense. Is your rent rate irreplaceable? I guess depends what you mean by irreplaceable, but currently I'm paying $1,125, and the market rate is around $2,000 here. I've seen the video where they switched from February to January. How is that legal? Well, that was on the tenant board. So that was to pull us into a case management hearing. So that it was a new different hearing. So they canceled the existing one, and then they pulled us into a new one. So I think technically, according to the rules or something, it was like within the notice window. It's like just barely. But it was also part of that was through a holiday. I think it was January 7th. We found out. Yeah, I mean it actually does. I'd have to go back and look, but it almost seems like it's several days shorter than the what it was supposed to be. Shorter than the minimum allowable notice time. What? What about what? Okay, let's set up scaffolding for the frame out of date thing. Okay, so the next thing is so this thing here discards when the terminal is changed, but also we need to focus, we need to think about the frame. Frame is changed. Okay, that might do it. Let's see if that ever even triggers. Unknown frame state ID. That's not good. Okay, there's... For some reason, it's not finding that ID of the current frame, which is 0. I'm a beginner. Can you guide me? I think learning from others' experience is better than making from scratch. I think you're on the right path, but your question is too vague. It's not a lot I can... Can you guide me? What do you want guidance on? Oofda. Not sure what you mean by that. I'm trying to make a remote access payload for Linux, since the internet runs on it. Interesting. Just don't break any laws. I haven't actually tried any of them, but I know there's lots of like pen testing websites and stuff. Like it's tons of like hacking challenge sites out there. Capture the flag, I think. Okay, let's figure out why that doesn't work. Please remember the FBI is smarter than you, not afraid of knocking. Yep, they also watch my live stream. That 26, that's all FBI. There's no better place to look for the latest hacking tips in block mining simulation games. So they all come here. I think what might be the case, that might be the help menu. Maybe that's probably why it's 0. The ID is 0. Yeah, that must be it. Okay, that should fix the null pointer. Or not null pointer, the failed lookup. Where will you release the game? You can go down to the description. There should be a link to the GitHub. FBI can stay seated. I got my own environment. What's with the numbered crown? That's a new feature that YouTube added. It has some. They're trying to like quantify engagement or something, but so like I don't know if you chat most, but then I've seen cases where multiple people will be ranked 1, so I don't even know what it means. All right, it's going to compile. Uh-oh. It's not doing anything. That's because it discarded literally every single thing that was printed. That's interesting. I believe multiple people with ranked 1 actually means run ranking assigned to a new person. It's an exponential moving average of chats over time. Okay. It seems like a weird feature. I guess it's just designed to get people to chat more or something. But that's not always necessarily the best thing. Interesting. It looks like it's not getting incremented, maybe. Hello again. May God help you with that bug. Thanks. Hopefully he can help me find it so I can go to sleep. What time is it? It is after midnight. It's 12:37 in the morning. Here it's 7:37 a.m. You're quite a few time zones away. That must mean that this is never being changed. Oh, wait, no, it wouldn't mean that, because if it wasn't, then it would get passed on. What is World Domination Day? Don't have a date yet. Well, I made some decent progress on this tonight. I'll pick this up tomorrow, I guess. Well, this was a reasonably successful stream, so I guess I will pick up where I left off tomorrow. Talk to you later, guys.